Hey guys, Adam here, and today we're going to look at the chemical toilet system versus the Laveo Dryflush system. Now, for those of you who don't know what a chemical toilet is or a Laveo toilet, we're going to get into that. But firstly, let's start with the chemical toilet. Now, the way a chemical toilet works is that you have in the bottom here chemicals that are in what we call a cassette, that when you go to the toilet, some of them separate your wee and your poo and some of them don't. The advantage of separating wee and poo is that the real septic smell that comes from using a toilet comes from the combination of those two things together. So when you're looking at a system that's going to be holding those items, you really need to think about what is going to be the impact when it comes to emptying it. If it separates it, it's still going to smell. It's not going to smell quite as bad as if it's a system that combines. This one here just combines everything together down the bottom in the cartridge. And what happens is this cartridge gets full, of course, with chemicals and your waste. And when it comes time to empty it, you need to pull the cartridge out and you need to empty it into a normal toilet, or you need to empty it into a dumping point like those you'd find at caravan parks and RV places like that. What you can't do is dump it into a septic system because the chemicals will kill the bacteria that makes the septic system work. Now, there's two problems with that dumping system. Number one, it is gross. It is a horrible, horrible job. You go to a public dumping point knowing that that dumping point has been the receptacle of thousands and thousands of litres of other people's waste and excrement down that hole. And you carry yours over, you pour it down, you've got goggles on and you've got gloves on, and it's a stench like you cannot imagine. It is a horrible, horrible experience that is very hard to get used to. That's the first problem with this. But the second problem with a chemical toilet is if you are off-grid, where do you find those dumping points? Because it won't be very likely be a flushing normal toilet connected to a town sewer, and there probably won't be dumping points either. So that becomes problematic if you're planning on being off-grid for a while. The upside of a chemical toilet is they're cheap, right? So this is about 120 or 150 bucks for this one. This is a very cheap one from Dometic. It's a bit small in my opinion. I think you should get one with a higher seat height. And you'll get a really Rolls-Royce-y one for about $500 to $700, but you still have those sorts of issues to think about. Now, over on this side, you have the Laveo Dryflush. Now, this toilet is more expensive. It's about 3 times the price. This is a little over $2,000. So you're getting into the price of like a composting toilet now, although this is not a composting toilet at all. Now, the big difference between these is, first of all, how the waste is held. This one is held in a liquid receptacle that sloshes around at the base with chemicals. This one has a mylar bagging system in it, and it looks like there's a huge big bowl in the bottom lined by a mylar bag. When the waste goes in, you push the button, it's an electric toilet, and it winds that waste around, sucks all the air out into a little hygienically sealed parcel that emits no smell, and you can do up to 15 flushes in there into the holding area down the bottom. And when you're done, all you do is you grab the plastic bag. There's a garbage bag that mylar bagging system sits within. You spin the garbage bag around, you simply put it in the bin. And because those mylar bags trap in the smell, you could be off-grid for weeks or even months, and you have these bags building up, but they don't smell, and you dump them when you get to the nearest garbage bin, which could be a service station or whatever. Now, both of these toilets are fully portable. There's no plumbing into the ground, there's no vents that need to be installed, and there's no electricity that's needed into them. This one does have a battery. It's like a motorbike battery sitting in the back, but you only need to charge that up for 1 hour once a month, and it's good for up to 3 months or 300 flushes. So it's pretty much an off-grid toilet as well. So in my book, for me, I would prefer this toilet just because it doesn't have that chemical dumping experience, which can absolutely ruin someone's holiday. And it's embarrassing. Some people won't go because they just don't like the idea that their husband or wife is carrying their poop across the thing and emptying it out and smelling it and seeing it go down the hole again, whereas this has a lot more privacy to it. Once you push the button, you will never see or smell that waste again. When it comes time to empty, you just pull the garbage bag out, spin it, and put it in the bin, and that's the end of that. So in my opinion, this is a much, much better experience. This looks and feels and operates very much like a toilet at home, but of course it is more expensive, but it doesn't have the cost of buying any chemicals. You don't have to drive around looking for a dumping point. On the flip side, you do have to buy the bags, which can add up, especially if you're using your van a lot. It's really good if you're going camping for a week or 2 weeks at a time, a few times a year, really probably wouldn't bother you in terms of what the bags cost. If you're in the van permanently and you're living in it, then you might want to look for something like a composting toilet, which is lower consumable cost on an ongoing basis. But between chemical toilets and the Laveo, in my opinion, hands down, the Laveo wins this one.